So I'm sitting here with Sandy Ohyama with eXp Realty.
Yes.
We are going to talk about jump starting into 2024.
Yes.
We are coming to end with 2023.
Mm-hmm.
We discussed previously kind of what we saw in this market this year.
Right.
Really would like to let buyers out there, or even sellers, even if they're anybody who's thinking about possibly making a move this coming year, how to really prepare for that and jumpstart into 2024.
2024, good point.
Right?
Yeah, we gotta start preparing now.
Yeah, absolutely. I know everybody knows that. Again, this year we've seen a real big struggle with affordability.
Yes,
right? That's been a challenge for a lot of people walking into this coming year in 2024. Mm-hmm. You know, what to anticipate, what to expect with that affordability.
Sure.
You know, personally, I think that this coming year, that's still going to be an obstacle for a lot of people. You know, right now where we're sitting at with interest rates, you know, I wish I had a crystal ball to be able to say exactly when we're going to see a change. I do think we're going to see rates come down.
Sure.
I personally think we'll see it go up a little bit more, though, before we see it come down. Right?
Definitely.
So really, how do we prepare for that?
Yes.
What are the biggest challenges, I guess, you've seen with people trying to enter the market on your side? I mean, of course, I'm on the finance side.
Sure.
So I understand that aspect of it. But is there anything that you see that's kind of unique to what's been going on right now than like prior years?
Than prior years. That's a good question, actually. I think the biggest obstacle in Hawaii is just simply the price.
Sure.
You know, we are so much more expensive than compared to, 90% or even 95% of the rest of the states.
Right.
So even people coming in from, California or, sometimes they're shocked with the price.
Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, local people know exactly what they're facing. So I think that's the biggest obstacle. So I think going in 2024, if rates do still go up, my best advice would be right now to get your finances in order.
Yes.
Start saving if you can.
Yes.
Prices are not going to really change that much. This is a fact of life we have to adjust to, whether we like it or not. This is true for all of us, right?
Sure.
It's not just any group of people. It's just true in general. So I think, right now you really have to look at yourself and your finances and see where you're at, if you are serious about buying. Right?
Yep.
I don't think too many people do that. It's kind of hard, to look at yourself in the mirror and be critical about, what you're doing and what you could change. But, it's if you want to get into a house, it's something we have to do, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's a fact of life.
Yeah.
I know that I'm guilty of this. I've been spoiled. I've been doing mortgages now for long time.
Sure.
Right? Like, going on 19 years now.
Okay.
So, I can say I got spoiled with where rates were at just a couple of years ago.
Sure.
I remember the first time going into it, after 2008.
Right.
And looking at that, I was like, man, we will never see interest rates this low.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Right?
Right.
And then we did.
Yeah, we did.
And again, I'm just like everybody out there. I was like, okay, can't wait for rates to go down.
Right.
But the reality is, like you said, a fact of life. Like, rates will go down.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to go back to like 2.5%.
No. And, and what people don't realize is when rates go down, prices go up because guess what? Competition is going to increase, right?
Correct.
So it's like a double-edged sword.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I mean, it's either going to be you take the lower percentage with a higher price point, or right now take a slightly lower price point with a higher percentage in payment.
Right.
So if you really have to do the math, I think.
You do. And I think that's another great point too.
Yeah.
Is, looking at buying in 2024, I've always recommended that whether you're looking to purchase today or a year from now, it's always a great idea to start with getting pre-qualified. or finding out if you qualify, right?
Right.
Because if you don't, what you want to do to prepare for this coming year is to build that plan of action or that roadmap.
Definitely.
To be able to make sure, all right, where my debt ratios are, in
exactly.
line. Do I have enough money saved
right.
up
What's
for
my
this?
FICO score?
Credit scores, right? And all those things are a factor.
Right.
And, going into 2024, if rates continue to go up, I still think there's a great opportunity because you had just mentioned with when they come down, everybody's going to flood the market again.
It's going to be a crazy, crazy fight.
It is. And that's part of the concept of like, how much do I need to save? Because you were saying saving so important. Well, if you're sitting on the sidelines and you're waiting for rates to come down, I think you need to take whatever number you have in your mind about how much I need to save.
Right.
And you need to bump that up by at least 20%.
At least.
Because if you're going to wait for rates to come down and we go into that bidding war situation again.
Oh my gosh, it was horrible.
Yeah. You're going to have that additional money.
Exactly.
To go above what your down payment requirement is, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
So, I mean, that's something really important to look at. We've discussed previously about right now where rates are at, is it still a good opportunity? And I think both you and I agree that it is, right?
Yeah, it's not horrible, guys. I mean, it's really not.
No, and I
mean, Barbara Corcoran said, actually, this is the best time to buy, and I sort of agree with her, not 100%, but it's not a horrible time.
No, and I think it comes down to if you can, right, truly can afford to buy, there's a great opportunity out there.
Oh God,
right? Because again, you don't have that competition in the market right now. And I think what you gain with the equity that will increase, between now and then, whenever it does come time to you have that opportunity to refinance.
Exactly.
Right? I think that you'll make more money. Granted, I know this is not one size fit all solution or situation.
Nothing is in life. Yeah.
Right. But I think that if you look at this, and a lot of times, me included, I forget that, we're so emotional about our home purchase.
Oh, yeah.
That we forget the investment aspect of it.
I think so, too.
And, if we look at this as an investment and take the emotional aspect out of it for a little bit, you can see how the numbers can work. And talking with somebody like you and myself can really, we can show you what those numbers are. Taking, hey, what do we think? Just even very conservatively, what is the rate of appreciation going to be in 2024? Right. If I buy it now with interest rates, let's even say we'll go higher, say if I bought at a 9% interest rate, right, how much am I going to make over the next year or over the next 24 months?
Right, correct.
Through that gain of equity.
Exactly.
And I think that those are the conversations I have with professionals like yourself, with people like me,
of course,
to get you prepared for next year and when you're buying, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you got to jump in the market sometime, and I keep telling the most common question that I get is, when's the best time to buy? Yeah. And the answer is, there is no such thing.
Sure.
It's where you are in your life, how you feel about it, and if you're ready.
Yeah.
That's the right time. That is the only time, I think. And that's going to be different for everybody.
Sure. Yeah. No, and you're right. You're right. And again, I think coming and talking to starting with the loan application.
Sure.
Because we want to see, what debt ratios are. And for people that don't know what debt ratios are, us as a lender, we go in and we want to see what your gross monthly income is, right? What are your total monthly obligations?
Right.
And what percentage of your gross income does that take, right? So
and there's a threshold, that you guys base it on, if you're above or below.
And, depending on what kind of loan product you qualify for,
exactly,
has different parameters for how high that debt ratio can be, right? So,
Right.
For somebody looking at purchasing next year, knowing right now what are your debt ratios, and is there an opportunity to kind of lower those? Because if you can lower that increases your buying power.
Right.
Obviously makes it more comfortable each month when you're making the payment too.
Definitely.
So that's something that we like to look up right now.
Sure.
That way we know moving forward, if we do have to pay some credit cards down, how much do we have to pay down, right?
Yeah. And there is, some kind of, I don't want to use the word trick, but there is an order of what you want to pay off first, right?
Sure.
I mean, so many people don't know this. You know, I've talked to so many people as buyers, and they're like, you know, I have X, Y, and Z debt. You know, which one am I supposed to pay off first?
Right.
And they're usually like trying to pay off like the car loan first. And I'm like,
Right.
no, you don't want to do that. You know, so I mean, there's so much to talk about when you're buying a house that you do need the time to actually sit down and have the conversation and understand all of it. You know, because it is overwhelming, right?
It is.
I mean, when I got into the business, I wasn't a real estate agent 9 years ago, and it was overwhelming for me. You know, when I first started out. So I can imagine what it's like for just normal people out there, you know, and then we start talking to them about debt ratio, and then you see this like deer in the headlights look, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
that blank look, you're right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I feel for them because it is overwhelming, but it's something you have to know.
It is. It is. Yeah, and you're right. Depending on what kind of debts you're paying off, right? And the reason why Sandy is saying not the auto loan first is because typically your credit cards are going to have the higher interest rates on it, right?
Right.
And so you want to get those taken down first, which also helps though with your credit score.
Exactly.
So I mean, if you're sitting there and you know your score, the higher score, obviously, the more beneficial it is with purchasing a home, right? But yeah, I mean, a big chunk of your score is determined off of your utilization.
It is,
you know, and so a lot of people that we've worked with in the past, they don't understand that part of it. All they know is like, hey, I'm never late on any of my payments ever in my life, right? And but I can't seem to get my score past a 720 or even into the 700s, right?
Exactly.
And it's because of that utilization.
Right. Or if you're buying as a couple, you know, if your husband's score sucks and yours is good, right? They still kind of look at the husband's score, right?
100%. So that's accurate.
So you can't just say, well, my score is good, but you know, and no, you're buying it as a couple.
My spouse's is trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what we do
you're
is
kind of screwed.
We use the lowest score out of whoever is on the application, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, the wife could have an 800 score.
Perfect score. Right.
And unfortunately, if the spouse
is like a 500,
right, he may not even be able to be on the loan application actually to help qualify, right? So definitely, that's a great point. We want to look at the entire household,
like who's buying
who's
it,
going to be on there, especially in Hawaii. The multi-generational living situation, right, is so common here.
Oh gosh,
right. So it's not even necessarily husband-wife; it's husband-wife, cousins, siblings, their spouses, that are all on the mortgage. And so, man, even in a situation like that, you definitely want to start sooner than later because there's just so many more moving parts to that.
I think so too. And you know, I really liked, you know, getting back to what you said. You know, just go ahead and then lock it in, and you can always refinance. I mean, that's something I think. That's really a great feature in America. I don't know about other countries, but you know, I think it's great that, you know, when the rates go down, that you have the ability, to negotiate for a lower payment.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid. You know, this is not set in stone by any means, right? You're not going to be stuck with 8% for 30 years, right?
Right. And you're absolutely correct. And I mean. And with that being said, though, both Sandy and I are not suggesting for someone that right, you know, but if you can emotionally stomach the 8% interest rate right
if you can
now,
do it.
Right, and you know the qualifying or being able to afford is not the factor.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree. Right now is the time, you know, that you can find something special, especially out here,
of course,
and then have that opportunity to lower that. You know,
Yeah.
I know a big. And I hated it so much. I hated the saying, but it's true. You know, last year or the year prior to that, they're saying, you know, date the rate, marry the house, you know, and I hated that saying, but the concept is accurate, right?
Sure.
It really is.
It really is, yeah. I agree.
Is there any recommendations you have for somebody moving forward, what that could help them prepare as far as, hey, should they start, you know, maybe researching the different areas and the affordability in those areas? And
I would say just talk to us. Just make that first call.
Yeah.
And we will see where the story goes.
I agree.
That is the most important step. You know, we're not going to criticize you. We're not going to bite your head off. We're not going to laugh at you. You know, this is what we do for a living.
Sure.
You know, just like when you're sick and you go into the doctor's office,
Right.
you know, you're not going to be embarrassed about,
Right.
you know, telling the doctor what's wrong with you.
Right.
So tell us, you know, just give us a call. That's my most biggest advice I can give.
I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
I do.
Thanks.
Well, Sandy, thank you so much.
Yes.
again.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Yes.
I love these
appreciate it.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Let's do it again.
Sounds good.